Hi there, my name is Patty Saltariaga. I am the Manager of School Improvement with the Division of Performance Accountability. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our 2021 Educational Technology Conference. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter, Peter Melton, with Esports for Career Exploration and Skill Building. Let me pop him in to say a quick hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here.
Great, thanks, Peter. Okay, I'm going to go through some quick housekeeping with you. Please know that you can use the chat to communicate with one another. If this is your first time here, click into the chat area and create a channel, then you'll be able to chat. In the chat, we have moderators who have wrenches and can respond. This session will be recorded and it will be available on the conference platform for 30 days and on our YouTube channel for the life of our channel. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel. We would love to see where you are learning from and hear some of the things that really spoke to you. Please use hashtag PBC TechConf, CONF, on Twitter and be sure to tag at EdTechPBC. Okay, and we're just about ready to
Hello, hello. I guess I'm on. I'll wait a few seconds just to make sure.
Yes, Peter, you are on.
Okay, great. All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Peter Melton. I'm a teacher at Cutler Bay Senior High School. I was part of the first NASEF Esports fellowship class and very proud to be a part of that. I'm also the esports coach here at Cutler Bay. And it's the second year that they've had esports, and we're really, really excited because we're doing some exciting things here. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about esports and the impact it could make in your school. So I'm not sure if Patty can hear me, because right now, when I turn my screen on and show this presentation, I won't be able to see anything except my presentation.
Yes,
So,
yes, I can, Peter. So
okay, so if there's any questions, just feel free to interrupt me and we'll do that. Outstanding.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about Scholastic Esports. What is NASEF? NASEF is a really great organization, and what they're focused on is presenting esports in the classroom for the purpose of making students better, more well-rounded individuals. In fact, let's use their words: to provide opportunities for all students to use esports as a platform to acquire critical communication, collaboration, and problem-solving skills needed to thrive in work and life. Sounds like a lot of words, but I'll break it down to you a little bit. To ensure that all students possess the knowledge, skills needed to be society's game changers, educated, productive, and empathetic individuals. Well, you know, that mission, that vision may sound very, very much like your school's vision and mission. And because the truth of the matter is, NASEF falls right in line with the goals of your school in most cases. I mean, I can't think of where it's not. NASEF is backed by a vast amount of organizations. The Samueli Foundation is the main group that funds it, but lately they've made connections throughout the world. British Esports, they're huge in Orange County, California. Chapman University is a big sponsor. Octane Esports is huge. I mean, I can go on and on and on. The humble beginnings, how it all got started. Back in 2018, it all started with a high school esports league with about 25 high schools, 38 teams, and that was it. It was small, and it all happened in Orange County, California. It's basically the Orange County High School Esports League. And since then, it's exploded. And this is just of January 2021. They're basically not in every state of the union, but pretty much in every, most states of the union. They're working diligently to spread out. They're also in Canada. And I also know there's some partnerships in Mexico, Japan, and also in Britain. Wow, 10,000 soon. I didn't realize we're that big anymore. Wow, it's huge. I'm just working through this. 1 second. Wow, I'm definitely not going to read this for you. What I am going to do, though, is basically what this shows you is how deep we are throughout the esports world. When I got involved in esports, I wasn't sure this was legit. And there was no way I was going to present this to my students if it wasn't legit. So the first thing I did was I had my students at the previous school I was at, and we contacted over 400 colleges and universities. We got those names from different leagues that were involved. Now, many of the schools that are listed here, but we're talking all the big schools in Florida, Florida State, University of Florida, University of Central Florida, schools like Brown, Cornell, Ivy League schools, Big Ten schools, South. I mean, the impact of esports is huge. We started finding out that back in 2017, 2018, there was a couple $1 million in scholarships offered. Well, right before COVID, we learned that over $65 million in scholarships were offered to students through esports. The impact of esports is huge. So once I saw that esports was taking place at several levels, number one, schools playing each other. Number two, schools playing within the school itself. And then this is the big part. Colleges and universities offering programs to teach students to work in that space. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But who plays esports? Adults, teens, everyone's playing esports. In fact, one of the things that I like to say, excuse me, I don't want to cough in your ears, is who's playing esports. And I've got a really fun fact that's not listed in here. And when it comes to people who play esports, 51% of all esports players are women. Now, you would think that number would be skewed toward men, but there's one giant difference. Women play esports or video games or however you want to name it. They play it on their phones, when men generally play in consoles. Now, again, those are not absolutes, but that's the general principles. But really, the biggest consumer of esports are women. We're going to talk about a few things now. This is a huge slide deck, and I do want to save time for questions. And please, if you're sitting there and you have questions, Patty will relay those to me. I'll be quiet and I'll do my best to answer anything you have to ask, because I do want to get into the specifics. I'm going to skip over a little bit to the things that I feel are important, because I think the importance of, and probably why you're here, is about having an esports club at your school, and why introduce esports at the high school or the middle school level. And I'm a CTE teacher. I teach marketing and web design. And you may say to yourself, well, what does esports have to do with that? Well, don't look at it like, what does esports have to do with that? Look at it from a perspective as, what do the skills that I'm teaching, who consumes it? Does the esports community consume web design? Does the esports community consume marketing? Do they consume advertising? Well, by consume, I mean, do they use it? And the answer, in my opinion, is absolutely yes. Of course they consume those things. So let me let you in on a little secret before we go any further. In essence, the things that we're talking about are not new. It's not a surprise. It's not something that's a miracle cure-all. What it is the latest trend in an industry that is exploding. That is just what's going on here. Because the analogy that I like to make is, parents come in my classroom all the time, and parents ask me, well, come on, Mr. Melton, you mean kids you're playing video games in your class? Well, no, they're not actually. The only time that video games are played in my class is during club time, and club time doesn't take place during class time. The only other time that video games are played in my class is when we get to the point where they'll be recording events for marketing purposes. So that's the only time games are being played. So we're not sitting here playing games by any means. But the fact is this: let's just for a moment take esports away and put football and put basketball or put a baseball game. Well, all of those major sports are all recognized and accepted by all of us. All of those have players on a field, and all of those sports have dozens, if not hundreds, if not in some cases thousands of people that have jobs either directly or indirectly as a result of that sport. Now I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I want to share something with you, and I'll come back to this if we have time. Because for me, this is the crux of esports. This is the crux right here. Let me get to this. This is hold on a second. I'm going to do this. I just want to get to the thing I want to see. Bingo, right here. Excellent. And what you're looking on at the right side of your screen is the NASEF Curriculum Foundations ecosystem. It's what drives us first as fellows that we work together to establish this, to write curriculum, and to establish programs at the high school, the middle school level. Because this ecosystem is what drives the concept and the goals of our programs. Excuse me. In the middle, you have your players. Now, depending what sport it is, I happen to like League of Legends. League of Legends is a 6-person team, so you've got 12 players playing the game. And in fact, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to share this with you. In 2019, approximately 100 million people saw the Super Bowl worldwide. These people didn't pay a penny. They just sat in the sofas or sat somewhere, and either through a conventional television or a phone or a tablet, they saw a game for free. And the way profit was made up, that people, the people that saw the game consumed the advertising that people paid a lot of money for. The League of Legends championship that same year took place in France. Now, again, 100 million people saw the Super Bowl. It was a one-day event that lasted 4 hours. And again, 100 million people saw it. The League of Legends championship took place in France. It lasted 10 days. And it had 101 million people watch it. The big difference is two differences. Number one is that championship took place over 10 days. So it's a longer event. And number two, most of those people paid. Most of those people paid either for live access or delayed access, anywhere from $25 to $100 to watch those games for over 10 days. That is a significant fact because that tells you that there's a huge worldwide market for this. Number two, that this is not going anywhere and this is here to stay. That being said, remember I mentioned earlier, just if the concept of video games disturbs you, just replace it with football. Doesn't football have people who organize? There's strategies, content creators, entrepreneurs that are all around the game. Aren't there software developers that work for whatever sport you want to do? But in this case, let's focus on video games. Aren't there software developers? Aren't those legitimate, good paying jobs? Broadcasters, shoutcasters, streamers would be people that actually do the filming. Journalists. If you go online, there are tons of articles, tons of blogs, tons of YouTube channels dedicated to esports. There's a whole world of art that's dedicated to the video game. On the entrepreneur side, we have web development, which is what I teach, marketing, which is what I teach. There's corporate sponsorship. Well, corporate sponsorship isn't obtained. The sponsor just doesn't walk in the door. There's actually a person who's trained to go out and conduct that business and meet that business person. There's business developments. If you've seen those games, if you've seen any event, you know there's massive amounts of IT support. You know the NFL uses those Microsoft Surfaces. You know there's event organizers, there's general managers. And of course, on the strategy side, there's coaches, theory crafters, analysts. There's a bunch of people. And that's just people that are directly involved in the game. Now, all of this here, these are all people, and these are all careers that can be taught and supported through career and technical education. So once I saw the fact that this was not going anywhere, that this was real, that so many good universities and colleges were offering this at 3 levels, either the intramural, one where schools play other schools, and the other one where schools play within the school, and more importantly, where universities and colleges were offering degrees or programs in this, then it became obvious to me that I needed to prepare my students, because if I didn't do that, I was not preparing them for the future. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a fad. If you are involved in esports at your school right now, you are preparing your kids. You're at the ground level of something huge. Because again, this is not going anywhere. Patty, are you there?
Yes, I am, Peter.
I've been going on for like 17, 18 minutes now. Do you have any questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay, I'll continue then.
Great. Thank you. Great job.
Oh, thank you. Oh, let me see. Let me go to my next slide. Oh. Okay. Hope you can still hear me. I think my mic just fell off. So how do we do this? What does this look like in the school setting? Well, at my previous school, we taught programming and we had a club. Here, where I am currently, I teach marketing, web design, and we also have a club. So the club part's easy. The club part's pretty straightforward. The club part is the kids come in, they play, they learn how to coach each other, because what you do is you tie in different aspects you try to expand it to just more than playing games. You want to do a whole lot more than that. On the curriculum side is when things can get really interesting and really fun. Because one of the things, and I'm just an example. Let's say you've got a high school that's got a 4-year program, and that you have a 4-year program for and this is what they did at University of California, prepared this, and this is their example. So 9th graders take games and simulation. Now that could be a programming course in which students learn how to program, and they can code games. Examples of that would be students can learn Python, and they can learn Python, and there's also something called Pygame, which is where students just learn how to code simple games in Python. If you wanted to offer this, and again, these are flexible as far as the order of these, because for example, I would probably do this a little bit differently, but this is California's curriculum. The way we did it in Miami Lakes was we simply did the entrepreneurship and the marketing at the 9th and 10th grade level, because a second elective that the students had was programming. So they were learning some programming in 10th grade. By the time they came to 11th grade, which is when we offered our game and simulation, at that point, they already knew something, and they were already playing with Unity. And they're able to establish, create some better games, because the Unity platform and the Unity engine is allowed to do that. So,
excuse me, Peter.
Yes.
We do have a question.
Outstanding. Tell me.
The question is, how does a teacher get involved in esports?
Great. Several ways. Number one, when you decide to do it, there's a couple of things that you need to do first. talk to your administration. Talk to the administration, talk to your AP, talk to your principal. If you're in a small district, talk to your district personnel, talk to your district CTE office, and tell them the plan. Because this is going to ruffle IT's feathers to some extent if you're using school computers or you need to bring in software for some of this stuff. The next thing I would do, and the easiest thing I would do, is that I would go to the NASEF website and I would start a club through NASEF. Now, NASEF is partnering with another organization who's right now, I'm having a mental, a senior moment, we'll say. But when you get to the NASEF website, nasef.org, NASEF.org, on the NASEF website, you'll find resources for club bylaws, codes of conduct, things of that nature. The gaming side will be held by, right now escapes my mind, I'm sure it'll come back to me shortly. HSEL, High School Sports Athletic League, High School Esports League, HSEL. They've partnered with them, so the gaming portion of it, and NASEF is actually sponsoring some games so that there's no cost to the school involved in this. And let me see if I can do this. Can I share a? I hope I don't mess things up. Are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing my screen very messed up, Patty?
Yeah, well, we see that you're going into a search right now.
Okay, and you're seeing that window, right?
Yes, sir.
So what I want to answer that question thoroughly, because that's an important question, and that's now hindsight being 2020. This is probably.
And then we do have another question when you're done with that one.
Okay, so you're seeing the NASEF website, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you come to the website. If you come to sign up, you have all the NASEF stuff here, but then you have the High School Esports League here, who they're partnering with, and they're offering the games that they're offering for the fall are Rocket League, and then there's chess also. So you got Rocket League and chess. Those games you can play for free, and the chess is a 10-minute chess, and it's an esports version of that. And that's taking place right now. Now, in the resources, because one of the things that NASEF is huge on is full mind and body. And I'm glad I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. The resources that you need are right here. When you sign up, there's information here, how to start to become a coach. You start this process, and that will take you to Generation Esports, because that's who they're partnering with. So Generation Esports will have a process for you to sign up. You'll sign up through them. You'll send their school email. They may contact your school administrator, which is why I need to give them a heads up. But that's what you want to do there. The NASEF website itself has a lot of resources. And again, the information, I'm not going to go ahead and the information to how to start is there. Now, mechanically speaking, or logistically speaking, this is the back end of it. And you want to do this because there's a lot of things that'll help you. There's a code of conduct, because in case you didn't know, kids can be pretty mean playing some of these games. So you want to have an environment in which people don't feel threatened, or don't feel scared, or don't feel, because I've had younger students in middle school be scared to go play League of Legends. So once you get the okay from the administration, you go to the NASEF website and sign up over there, and then you go to Generation Esports and sign up over there. Now you're ready to start recruiting. Once you open that door, it's impossible to close it, because we're at a small school. Our school's about 560 students, and easily 10% of the school is in our club. It's easily, and this is now the second school I've done it at. It's easily the second biggest club, or the biggest club at any school I've gone to. So get ready, because you're gonna, that's going to be the issue. Now, you may ask yourself, well, Pete, I don't have anything to play with. Well, the kids have their own consoles. The kids have their own games. I would suggest, especially in the news today, because what's happening with this guilty plea, here in Miami, and at least in Dade County, we don't play any first-person shooter games. Your kids are going to want to play first-person shooter games because they're the fun games. Call of Duty, Rainbow, things of that nature. I would suggest you talk to your administrators. You don't want to get your club shut down or get in trouble before you begin. So Smash Brothers is a great game. Rocket League is a great game. All the sports games are great games. But basically, just use some common sense and find out what your kids want to play. If it involves first-person shooting, the answer is no. Now, again, your school might say yes, but I think you're going to avoid a lot of problems in the future. Patty, what's the next question?
Great. Thank you so much. So the question is, what hardware would I need to start a club at my school? Is there a written curriculum? How do I connect with other schools? And I
Great.
did want to let you know that's a 15 minutes before we end.
Got you.
Thank
All
you.
right. So, great question. And I have several solutions to that. Number one, kids, a lot of kids have consoles. The minute, if one kid has a console, like a Switch, for example, Switch is the big one, because Smash Brothers is going to be a huge game, and a lot of the kids have their own. A lot of these kids are bringing their consoles to school anyway. They can bring their console for club day, and they'll have those consoles. One of the struggles that we're having right now is televisions. We don't have televisions. I have one giant television in my room that was set up by the school when I got here. But televisions are an issue because you don't really want the kids playing on small screens, because you want to be able to, number one, monitor the gaming. And number two, it's just because of the other activities like the shoutcasting and the streaming and those other things, you want TVs. So sounds silly, but I would go to my faculty at the faculty meetings, and a lot of people get new TVs at Christmas. And a lot of those TVs either get thrown out or hand me down, or they don't know what to do with them. Have a TV fundraiser at your school. I know it sounds crazy, but I've picked up 5 or 6 TVs at Miami Lakes, and I plan on doing the same thing over here. I go to my faculty after, people during the holidays. The only downfall here, I work at a great school. Probably, I hate to say it's an outstanding place, but it's small. So, it's only like about 26 of us, so the numbers aren't there. But as far as hardware goes, I would, a lot of people say, fundraise. Oh, fundraising for a $300 Switch is hard. I'm not going to fool you and tell you that it's easy. So ideally, you'd want kids to bring in their consoles at first. Maybe you can fundraise and and over time have a couple of Switches. And I would suggest Switches. Xboxes are just a little bit more complicated with the school networks and stuff. But find out what works for you. As far as hardware goes, find out what works for you, and just run with that. But Switches are preferred. TVs are going to be an issue. Try and get kids to donate TVs. Try and get teachers to donate TVs once they upgrade. I've learned over the years that the Super Bowl is a great time for television. For some reason, a lot of people buy TVs during the Super Bowl, and they're willing to give an old one up. Patty, did I cover that completely? For some reason, I don't think I did.
I think you did, Peter. I think it was very detailed and informative, and I don't see any backup questions, so I think we're in a good spot. You can
Okay.
continue. Thank
All
you.
right, great. Let me pick up here. All right. All right, so what you're looking at is just some general concepts. What we like to do with our club, and also I went crazy with this, and I was able to do some substantial fundraising. Plus, I was able to obtain through some other sources like lighting equipment and things of that through another school that was so I contacted my district, and I had the ability to get some old lighting equipment for that other schools were getting rid of, so I went and picked it up. So contact your CTE office to see if they have any resources for lighting. And you might say to someone, well, what's a stage lighting and stuff do? Well, I try and set up my tournaments, and tournaments, by the way, are a great way to fundraise. And if I can share an idea with you that I learned from this person right there. He's an outstanding teacher over at Miami Springs Senior High School. He was one of the pioneers of esports in our county. Mr. Rene Barge, he's a good friend of mine. And I remember speaking to him. He goes, I was like, Rene, I'm holding these tournaments and I'm not making any money. I've got 25, 30 kids join. And by the time I get the prizes and get the fees and sell refreshments, I might be making $50, $60. It's just a lot of work for nothing. He goes to me, listen to this. Oh, you're doing them after school. He goes, oh, that's not smart. He goes to me. He's very mild mannered. So let me give you an idea for fundraising. Again, you have got to run this one through your principal and work this one out. This is something that I've been able to do with some administrations and have not been able to do with others. That day before Christmas when half the kids don't want to come to school, and if you were to walk around campus, there's nothing going on anyway. I'm not going to say it, but it's true in some places. Maybe the day before Thanksgiving, same thing. Day before spring break, same thing. Maybe even the last day of school, same thing. Well, Rene holds his tournaments then during school hours, and kids will pay $5 to be able to spend a day in his lab. Now he's got a huge lab, and he'll have a tournament that day. And then he also has a booster club, and his booster club will sell refreshments. And his club and his program is flush with revenue and flush with money to buy things for his kids. And they buy consoles, they buy games, their club, they take field trips to go see, because we're here in Miami, we're very fortunate. And there's a couple of game designing centers, small firms that design games and stuff. So we're very fortunate we have that here. But that's one way of doing it. If your administration will let you hold a tournament during school days, now that does a couple of things. Number one, it keeps kids from walking around the hallways, which is administration hates. Number two, some schools have attendance issues, especially on those days. Well, if you're holding a tournament, a lot of those kids that are playing that tournament, they might be home that day. Well, now they're in school. So that might be something to consider also. But that is a great idea, and that changed my life. That really, really did. I want to go back to the curriculum for a minute, because these are just some of the things that we do. And you see things like resolving team conflict. If you're bunch of kids playing stickball on the field outside, kids get into fights. But you can imagine what happens in a tournament when there's a $50 game card up for grabs. Sometimes not everyone's perfect. You have to resolve those issues, and I let students resolve it, and that gives them the power, that empowers them to do certain things, and it gives them the ability to solve. And you know what? That resolution is accepted better. It doesn't come from me; it comes from them, and and the kids own it better. Responding to criticism on esports, or skepticism. I'm sorry, skepticism and criticism, by the way. And by that, we're referring to parents, because parents immediately don't want their kids playing until they learn that there's potential scholarships involved. So one of the things that I did when I told you when they first started speaking at this presentation was that I had my kids contact about 400 schools. Well over half of those schools sent me a pennant. I hung all those pennants up in my classroom, and I still have those in my I packed them all up and brought them over here. Now, why did I do that? Because that was a response to skepticism. parents would come in and I would specifically point out those pennants. And I had the good schools, the Cornells, the Browns, the Stanford. I had those good schools at eye level, Florida State, right when they walked in, they saw those first. Why? Because if Cornell and Brown are doing it, holy cow, it's got to be good. It's got to be legit. You know what I'm saying? And I'll probably close on this where it says how to manage your club. And the one thing I've learned, again, this is my 23rd year in the classroom. The one thing I've learned that people think I'm a great teacher or I do these great things, and it's never because of me. On the contrary, the older I get, the more I learn that if I want to be perceived as a great teacher, I have to do two things: teach and get out of the way. I feel that if you give students the opportunity to show off, to grow, to just do what they can do, call me naive, call me whatever you want, but I think students, children, because there are children, they will surprise you every single time. They will outshine, they will outperform, they will do well. They just need to be given the opportunity. So before I call myself a good teacher, I like to consider myself a really good coach, and I like to consider myself a person that just knows how to create environments and give platforms for students to grow and succeed. And one of the great things that I was able to do or have been able to do that with is with esports, because esports allows me the opportunity to lay a foundation where kids can come and kids can just do amazing things. Because that esports club that I started back in Miami Lakes, those kids, you know what? Half of them didn't even like esports. I had artists, I had musicians, kids that played music. I had the jocks, the nerds. I had every subculture of the school was represented in that club. And now that here at Cutler Bay, it's the same thing. The goal is use esports to give students an opportunity to shine. And on that note, Patty, I want to thank you. To all the listeners out there, thank you for your time. I know I feel like I've talked for almost an hour, but it's been like 40 minutes. And I want to thank you so very, very much to allow me to be with you guys today.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was wonderful information regarding esports through NASEF. What a great way to connect sports and learning. Loved it. I'm looking at the comments to make sure we don't have any last questions or any comments, etc., etc. Everything looks great. I'm going to now just continue with our agenda and bring you right back for just a few minutes. Okay, Peter? All right. Just to remind everybody again, I want to thank you all for your participation. If you have any last probing questions, please feel free to put them in the chat because Peter will come back in a split second. I do want to review the agenda with you. This was the very last session. We do have a closing session at 2:45. Please join us. You get an opportunity to win some wonderful prizes there, and you get to hear wonderful words from Doug Kanapelko. Okay. It was wonderful for you to attend this session. We really appreciate your time. And we're going to end now with